Assalamu alaikum, my name is Ahmed with the Oak Tree Initiative. So today in the Nahw vlog we'll be looking at nouns and we'll be looking at the main characteristics of nouns, and in specific we'll be focusing on one of them. So the noun, which in Arabic is known as al-ism, has four key qualities. It has definiteness or indefiniteness, which in Arabic is known as qism. You also need to consider the gender, the jins. Is it masculine, is it feminine? You need to consider the number. Is it singular? Is it plural? Is it dual? Then finally the i'rab, which is the inflection or the case ending, which looks at the vowel on the last letter. A change in the vowel will change the meaning of the word. So today we're going to focus on definiteness in particular. So the rundown for today, we're going to have a look at indefiniteness first, then what makes a word definite, and finally we're going to have a look at examples. So in Arabic, the two categories, indefinite and indefinite, and nakira and ma'arifa. So what does it mean in English? If a word is definite, it's specific. If it's indefinite, it's referring to something unspecific. So for example, the book, my house, your car, which is very specific, whereas a book is any book or a house is any house. In English, you recognize it with the word the, or maybe if it's possessing or if it's pointing to something specific, that's very definite, whereas indefinite is always known by the letter a or an. Okay, so looking at indefiniteness because that is the easiest. So looking at these examples, akala waladun tufaha. Focusing on the word walad in particular, which means the boy. This word is indefinite because it's not referring to a specific boy, it's a boy. And you can recognize a word is indefinite if you look at the tanween. Any indefinite word has a tanween on it. So for example, in the second example, qara'tu kitaban. Kitaban, I read a book. It's not a specific book, I just read a book. Okay, and that again is recognized by the fathatain there. Finally, dhahabtu ila masjidin. I went to a mosque. Not a specific mosque, but just a mosque. It was any mosque. Again, recognized by the kasratain. So recognizing an indefinite word is very, very easy. An indefinite word will just have tanween on it. Now moving on to definite, this is slightly more complicated. It is more complex. It has more categories, but starting with the easiest first. So this looks very similar to what I just showed you before, but it's got something that is quite key to showing us that a word is definite. So, akala al-waladu at-tufaha. The boy ate the apple. This time it's not any boy, it's a specific boy. It's the boy. And you can recognize that with al in front. Okay. Second one, qara'tu al-kitaba. Again, looks very similar to the last sentence, but this time I didn't read a book, I read the book. It's a specific book, again identified by al. And finally, dhahabtu ila al-masjidi. Again, it's not any mosque in general, it's a specific mosque. I went to the mosque. And again, that's recognized by al. So if any word has al with it, if any noun has al in front of it, it is definite, it is specific. Okay, so other categories though include pronouns. So for example, if a noun has a pronoun attached to it, it implies possession. So kitabi, my book. It's not anybody's book, it's my book. Kitabuhu, his book. It's not a book, but it's specifically his book. Kitabuka, it's your book. It's very, very specific. Then another case of possession, just like the one that we looked at above. So Kitabu Zaydin. This time it's Zayd's book. It's not any book, but it's a specific book. Siyaratu Rajuli. The car of the man. It's not any car. It's specifically that man's car. Okay. So whenever there's possession, it specifies it. This belongs to another person. It's become specified. It's no longer general. Next we have demonstrative pronouns. So hadha kitabun. This is a book. Now, if you look at this, you've got a noun and it looks indefinite because it's got the tanween on it, but it says hadha. It's pointing to something in particular. This is a book. You're not pointing to anything in general. You're not talking about a general book, but you're pointing to something and you're saying this, you're making something definite. This is a book. Okay? And any proper nouns, for example, the names of people, of places, of countries, they're always going to be definite. So Britain is a very specific place. Zaid is a name of a boy. He is a specific boy. So that's how you identify whether a word is definite. Now let's have a look at a couple of examples. So here I've got Baytun Kabirun, Al-Baytu Al-Kabiru, Al-Baytu Kabirun. Now they all look very similar because they all involve the word Bayt and Kabir, house and big. But when put together in certain combinations, they're going to have specific meanings. So the first one, Baytun Kabirun, means a big house, whereas Al-Baytu Al-Kabiru means the big house. So in both cases, you've got a noun and then you've got an adjective next to it. A noun and then you've got an adjective next to it. But in this case, the noun is indefinite. It's not a specific house. It's just a big house. Okay? So if you've got a noun and then you've got an adjective following it, if the noun is indefinite, the adjective has to be indefinite. Okay? We can see that here because the noun has a tanween on it and the adjective following it has a tanween on it. In the second case, you've got the big house. It's a specific big house. And again, you've got an adjective and you've got a noun. But in both cases, they are both definite. The adjective has to follow the noun and whatever the noun does. So here we can see that the noun has got al in front of it. And here the adjective's got al in front of it too. And finally, we've got al-baytu kabirun. This is what we call a jumla ismiya or a jumla basita, a simple sentence, or in English we would call it an equational sentence. The house is big. One thing is another thing. So here we've got the beginning of the sentence, which is known as a mubtada, and it is definite. Whereas the khabar, the information about the house, is indefinite. Okay, so whenever you see that combination, you know it's got the word is in the middle. If it was in English, we'd have the word is. We don't have that in Arabic. And then finally, we have the final sentence, al-baytu kabirun. Okay, so here what we can see is that you've got one definite word and you've got one indefinite word. So how does that affect the meaning? Okay, the meaning in this case is the house is big. This is what we call an equational sentence. In Arabic, this is jumla ismiya, and it's a very simple sentence made up of a mubtada, a beginning, and then a khabar, which means information. And the information is specifically about the mubtada. So we can see that here you've got the definite article, and here you've got the tanween, which shows that it's indefinite, which implies, if ever you see this, it implies that you have the word is in the middle, which is not present in Arabic. We have it in English, but here it's implied. The house is big. Okay, so just to recap, we looked at the 4 key characteristics of nouns, and then we looked at in specific definiteness. So we looked at what makes the word definite and what makes it indefinite, and then we looked at examples for each case. So thank you for joining me this week. Inshallah, join us again soon. Please remember to go to our website, www.theoti.org, and subscribe to our newsletter and like us on Facebook and Twitter. Assalamu alaikum.